Over 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna instructed his confused friend Arjuna on the philosophy of human life and its purpose, its goal and its attainment. Known as the Bhagavad Gita, the song divine, the Bhagavad Gita is so unique because, unlike any other religious scripture, it is spoken by God, Lord Krishna himself. If there appear to be any contradictions and inconsistencies, they are only in the differing interpretations of the text. When you start reading the Bhagavad Gita and trying to understand it little by little, you start contemplating, you start thinking. When it tells you that we are not the body and the mind that we believe we are, and that in fact, we are pure spirit, we are soul, we are Atma, a tiny part of the God, the Supreme Spirit. The fact that we are eternal and immutable and indestructible, this realization is a prerequisite to any spiritual progress. The Bhagavad Gita does not propose attainment of heaven and its sense pleasures as the goals of human life. Krishna wants the gratification of the senses cannot bring happiness. And isn't that true? We think the physical world is the only reality that all of us can live in. But we start realizing and understanding it is not the way or the route to permanent happiness in life. You know what? We constantly look for happiness in all the wrong places. And that is why this special series on the Bhagavad Gita is a small effort on behalf of all of us. And even if one person listening to us finds the way to happiness, we will consider our attempt to be a success. Let me give you the background to the Bhagavad Gita. Two of the most popular Indian epics are the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Now, the former teaches us the ideal way of life and tells us kya karna hai, which means what to do, and the later teaches us the practical way of living and gives us insights into kya nahi karna hai, which means what not to do. Many Indians believe in the superstition that the whole of Mahabharata should not be read or kept at home because it's a war story. But I ask you this question, is war always that bad? The answer is that when war is fought for selfish reasons, to gain power and wealth, then I would say that it is bad. But when war is fought to establish morality and justice in the society, then I would say it is inevitable. Understanding the Bhagavad Gita without even peeping into the Mahabharata would be so incomplete. We Indians celebrate non-violence on one hand, but we are also very proud of a war epic, the Mahabharata. The reason for this pride in the epic is because the war was not just a battle between the brothers of a family for a kingdom. Neither was the war to get justice for Draupadi, the queen who was disrobed in the king's court. The war was fought to establish justice for every woman in the society and destroy all those social elements that disrespected women. The war was fought to help people understand that often we do not have a choice between good and bad, but one must choose between bad and worse or good and better. The Kaurava army was not alone at fault in the entire war. The Pandavas were equally responsible for accepting several favors melted out to them at the cost of another weaker person. The best example of this would be Dronacharya. The teacher asking for Eklavya's thumb so that Arjuna would have no competition in being celebrated as the world's best archer. Yudhishthir, the eldest brother of the Pandavas, is often referred to as Dharamraj. But he only saw his personal dharma of not getting up from that game of dice to which he had committed, which cost him, all his brothers and his wife, to become a slave of the Kauravas. Look at Bhishma. He is considered to be the wise old man in the Mahabharata. But don't you agree he was so staunch on maintaining his vow, his pledge? that he did not take a strong stance and stop the disrobing of Draupadi in the court. So all his wisdom seems to have been lost when it was necessary due to his selfish interest of maintaining an image that he had created for himself. Look at Dronacharya, the teacher, who was always greedy for materialistic pleasures that he could not discriminate between right and wrong, and expressed his displeasure for wrongdoing during the game of dice and posed that. Here we see that all these lovely stalwarts had choices that they could make between their subjective interest and the interest of the social good. Each of them, I repeat, each of the characters in the Mahabharata chose their subjective interest over social good, which led to the war eventually. And every character had these unique situations where they had to make the choice between good and bad. So let us begin to understand the Bhagavad Gita as a text that helps one to choose between the good and the better, or between the bad and the worse, with guidance from the inner self or God Himself who resides within each one of us. It helps each one of us to understand our internal battles and give us inner strength to fight it with proper understanding, or you may define that as your intellect or buddhi.